My Hero Academia was featured on the cover of the magazine this week, and I wish I was in Japan right now so I could pick it up myself. This shot of Deku looks really cool, and inside, there is a legendary color spread of Deku, Armored All Might, and Shimmer Nana. This is our first time seeing Armored All Might's actual colors, and it seems like everyone got it wrong. He went for a mostly black suit with a few bits of gold. I honestly think this version is even cooler. What are you born for? And what are you going to do? Words you've surely spoken if you've ever had an existential crisis. My Hero Academia Chapter 403 opens with memories of All Might's past. An exciting start, but nothing compared to what is to come later in the video. Despite All Might being so close to the center of the story for so long, we've never gotten a look at his family life until now. But that's usually how it is with manga. It takes knocking at death's door for a character to remember their origins. But before we go any further, this video is brought to you by Dungeon Hunter 6. There's a bunch of mobile RPGs out there, but this one's showing some real creativity in how you engage with this fantasy world thanks to its boss hunting feature. Dungeon Hunter lets you take its bosses and make them your own. Once you've taken down a boss, you can summon them, ride them, build up a whole squad of former bosses to take with you into the next level, and use them for combo skills. That's not enough for you? How about a stealth mission where you turn into a cat? Or riding a tank instead of a horse? A real-time guild war with your friends? These guys are really thinking outside the box with what a mobile RPG can do. They've got the basics covered too though, with a massive skill tree to invest in and an auction house to try and exchange your loot with your friends. The Dungeon Hunter team has also worked hard to optimize their graphics so it looks great on a ton of different devices. Download Dungeon Hunter 6 for free on Android or iOS with the link in the description. If you're on PC, scan this QR code to do the same thing. You'll get a special starter pack with 10 summoning scrolls and the SSR Lieutenant, Demonic Wolf, as a free accessory pack. Good luck and happy hunting! Maybe All Might had an Anpanman book in front of him, along with a massive smile on his face. No exaggeration, that smile is literally half of his face. It's definitely fitting for a future symbol of peace. And along with All Might looking like a total gremlin, we actually get to see his mother. Her design is really great and a very welcome surprise. It looks like she was ironing some men's dress shirts, so unlike Deku, it looks like All Might's dad was actually in his life. But thinking about things now, All Might realized that his life that far back wasn't anything special. It makes sense now why we didn't get this backstory earlier. It simply wasn't all that interesting. Everyone knows a true hero must be born from a painful past. Trauma breeds justice. In the middle of a yellow brick road, All Might would stand looking back on his past. In his own words, the one thing he'd done most is look back on the path he took, because every single step looks so important. Is there more to All Might's backstory for us to look forward to? Or was it simply a normal life until he met up with Shimmer Nana? That was it though, because his look back before death would be interrupted by the Reaper himself. A demonic smile faced him now. It was all for one. Spikes protruded from the back of the villain's neck and straight through All Might's arm. They managed to halt the detonation of his explosive. With a mocking tone, he wondered if All Might really believed he would just let him die like a hero. Up in the air, All for One hit the hero with his signature one-handed chokehold. All Might was finally all out of tricks, and All for One loved it. Like the absolute sicko he is, All for One licked All Might's blood from his hand with an elongated tongue thanks to the quirk of the late hero killer, Stain. All for One looks a little too happy here. Effective or not, he sure is having fun drinking this guy's blood. This at least confirms that the length of Stain's tongue was directly related to his quirk, which is mildly interesting. All Might's eyes widened as the Demon Lord finally trapped his prey. All for One is a veteran. He knows all too well that wounded heroes are always the scariest, so he made sure to come correct. But now that he's been stunned by Blood Curdle, All Might could no longer move and was therefore totally helpless. The look of despair on Toshinori's face was very pleasing to the villain, so much so that the smile on his face grew beyond its natural bounds. This would be the perfect opportunity for him to ask All Might why he's so serious. We know Horikoshi is a fan of the Joker, so this expression was most likely inspired by the Clown Prince of Crime. This smile is just sick. The man's eyes were even rolling back. I'm sure if we could see them here, his toes would be curled up too. The look on All Might was one of such utter devastation that his eyes actually look normal now. This was the face of All Might at his lowest point. All Might's best friend Tsukauchi could only look on in horror. La Brava called out to Gentle, who was in the middle of helping the UA Flying Fortress remain in the air. But now that it was floating again, he was prepared to help out against All For One. I can't be the only one who smiles every time these two make an appearance. They went from weird cybercrime and memes to being center stage in a battle for the fate of the world. Well, maybe not center stage, but they're in the room at least. But not even a second later, a bolt of energy blasted through the sky-high knockoff. Drop a comment if you're actually old enough to remember that movie. That blast would threaten the broadcast of the live stream of the century, but the students recording would do their best to continue. They say that the cameraman can't be killed or is immune to danger, and it looks like Horikoshi is a firm believer of that idea as well. So yeah, if you're in danger, don't run, grab a camera. Please don't actually do that. This blast did have one big consequence though. It forced Gentle to stay back and help the fortress stay afloat. He couldn't be the hero All Might needed. And that could have been much worse because apparently All For One wasn't even aiming for the school. He was aiming to hit Gentle directly. He wanted blood. Yue absorbed much of the blast energy, so he missed. However, he was hoping he'd still get the kill through the school crushing Gentle. This guy is ruthless, but I guess we knew that already. But goodness gracious, would you look at that cranium on this man? Bro looks like he stole Megamind's quirk. If All Might had gotten that explosive off, he would have definitely turned into a big-headed baby. Just then, fighter jets began to swarm the skies above All For One. They spoke of preparing to fire their lasers all at once. These were Star's brothers in arms. But before they could fire, with a look of great concern, one of them questioned if they might hit All Might with their attack. After all Might was Star and Stripe's idol. They had to make a choice. Miss the chance to blast All For One, or cook All Might in their attempt to save the world. Commander Agpar was watching this all unfold, clenching his fists in anticipation. Kind of like all of us right now. All For One was quick to notice the jets, so it wasn't exactly a sneak attack. I guess they're kinda hard to miss. The Demon Lord's eyes went wide, but not with a look of surprise. This was excitement. He recognized these to be the X-66 jets that Shigaraki had to deal with while fighting Star and Stripe. When they finally resolved themselves to fire, All For One dismissed them all with a single motion, all the while moving All Might around like a ragdoll. All For One would mock them. After all, Star and Stripe was long gone. And now, these jets were too. Agpar clutched onto himself in utter devastation. Their attempt to help in this fight had completely failed. Hesitation has caused so many failures in this story, and here we have another example. Let's not forget that Star died to save these guys. And now that they've been swatted away like flies, it's hard not to feel like her sacrifice was somewhat in vain. A little bit away from Yue, Deku noticed this while fighting against Shigaraki. He had his own battle to worry about, but couldn't help but look over at All Might. This was too much for Deku. His eyes widened, and tears filled them as his mentor was on the brink of death. And it was worse than just that. He had to watch on, unable to help. So much for the no crying thing. Viewers all around the world were feeling just as desperate. Plenty of familiar faces were glued to their screens. The little boy who was previously watching with his grandmother seems to be even more caught up in all of it. The fight was still being broadcasted, and the viewers could also see that this may be the end for All Might. For most of their lives, All Might reigned supreme as their one and only symbol of peace. Seeing him really be defeated like this would be the greatest sign of dark times. Things looked hopeless, so who could blame them for thinking that things were over for All Might? An old man watching was even someone the hero had apparently saved long ago. Melissa Shield from the first movie was watching with tears in her eyes. She'd call out to her uncle All Might. The suit she built for him had done a great job, but that was all over now. Gran Torino called out to his former protege from his hospital bed as tears streamed from his eyes. All Might was far from his prime and had even retired before, but his death would no doubt mark the end of an era. Right now, All Might is like Jordan playing for the Wizards. He's definitely not the powerhouse he once was, but he's still the GOAT. All For One and All Might are relics of the past. Our hero's death would declare a winner to that age-old beef. All Might can't die here, at least not before All For One. Will All Might change the future and beat Sir Night Eye's foresight quirk? The moment of truth is finally here. Deku's emotions and power now began to overflow. He was losing it. The man that was always there for him, the one that set him on this journey, was about to die while he watched on, unable to help. The Demon Lord held All Might over his head as if to pull a Bane and break his back. But worse than that, it looks like he planned on literally ripping the hero in half. For like the 10th time in this chapter, we would get a close-up on Deku's teary, overwhelmed eyes. Thou or not, if there's ever a time to cry, it would be when your stepfather is being slayed in front of you. Deku and Tsukauchi could only hope that someone would save All Might. They all desperately needed a hero. And a hero they would receive. As tears rushed from Deku's eyes, behind him was an almost biblical emergence of light coming from the top of the flying fortress centered on one person. After more than an entire year of waiting, the most popular character in the series is finally standing once again. Bakugo has returned! He's back and there are stars fluttering around him like we just encountered a shiny Pokemon. After over 430 days, Bakugo is alive and well. Well, maybe that last bit was a bit of an exaggeration, but it's better than he was a few minutes ago. RIP to Edgeshot, by the way. It almost seemed like time had frozen as Deku turned and saw who was standing. The friend he lost before arriving had managed to survive and be brought back from the dead. Bakugo is now officially the first person to have open heart surgery in the middle of a battlefield and immediately return to combat. A bit of a weird concept overall, but at this point we'll take it. Horikoshi has kept him out of the battle, saving him for, I guess, right now. What role will he play now? Will Bakugo be the one to put the nail in the coffin for All for One? We get another look at All Might's yellow brick road and a light along the path. Standing, Bakugo was holding his All Might card, a sign of his connection to the former #1 hero and also his childhood friend Deku. We'd get another look at the Path of Time. This time, All Might was standing, holding onto one of those lights. In front of him, the child version of both Bakugo and Deku ran along optimistically. Ahead of him, they both held their All Might cards with enthusiasm, their gift from the time before theirs. This was the end of an era and the beginning of another. Horikoshi, if nothing else, continues to prove that he is the best artist in Weekly Shonen Jump. Hands down, what a beautiful shot this is. Both were clearly overwhelmed and couldn't believe the situation they were in, but their connection now was clear and strong. They both know what needs to be done. They both know what is on the line. Bakugo's eyes still look like explosions, so we're definitely looking at a new level of power for him here. Who can forget how he so perfectly predicted Shigaraki's moves once this was the case? The mention of their feelings becoming one makes me hopeful that they may be connected through One for All, but we don't know for sure just yet. My Hero Academia has definitely been on a roll lately, and I am so happy to see it. We have been through a lot with this series this year, so I better see the hype in the comments, guys, because we are back. As always, I'm Celestial Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.